Hey everyone, welcome to the Anything and Everything podcast. I'm Dan Gill, and we got my co-host.
Zenodro. How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully well. So today we're going to be talking about something
Coming up very
on
soon.
everybody, which is Halloween, specifically Halloween movies. We're going to be talking about what makes them so interesting, right? And what our favorite Halloween movies are,
So
right?
we were talking about this, and you didn't know if you wanted to go horror movies or like just Halloween movies in general. Uh, my list personally contains both Halloween general movies and horror movies.
Okay. Yeah, my list was really horror movies. So I feel like I should have been more specific about that. I'm going to pick horror movies for sure. I'm gonna say that the best.
I feel like we can dedicate like maybe the week of Halloween to talk about Halloween movies general, or we can dedicate that week to horror movies.
Oh, what we could do is
So I
yeah,
mean, yeah,
that makes sense, and then we could talk about right um during Halloween, right? You said right, talk about yeah, we could do Halloween movies during Halloween,
yeah,
but Halloween themed, I guess, topics throughout the rest of the month of October.
yeah, we can do that for sure.
Yeah, that works. All right, so let's start. So, what makes a good? So, we'll start horror movies then, right? Is that what we're gonna do?
Yeah, we can do horror movies.
All right. So, what makes a good horror movie?
I think what makes a good horror movie is when like you leave from watching that horror movie and there are just certain scenes or moments in the movie that like you still think about long, and like that and those thoughts can linger for long after you've seen the movie.
So, it's pretty much what I've said in the past, right? Regarding,
Well, I mean,
um,
that's what you're gonna get with like horror movies anyway. You're
mhm.
gonna get scenes. They're gonna give you like specific scenes because they're meant to scare you. So like the jump scare scenes, you're gonna.
Oh, for sure, right? I think, yeah, and there's like different types of like horror movies, right? We have the
Mhm.
slasher films, really made famous in the 80s.
Right.
I'm not going to go into too many of them because a lot of them are in on my list.
Mhm.
And I don't want to do like a top 10 really, just
No,
because,
we can just talk about our like favorite, like some movies that we watch that we love or enjoy.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
It doesn't have to be like a set top 10 list, anything like that.
Exactly. And then, so that's like I would say that's the 80s is really the slasher films.
Hmm.
Probably made famous. Before that, it was, because it was like Halloween, I believe, started that craze with like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And
Yeah.
then, we have a bunch of like the big horror film guys, right? Which we
Right.
will discuss. Then if you fast forward, right? Oh, I see you on the chat. Perfect. So yeah, if you fast forward, right? Um,
Well, like 10
to like
years.
what the yeah like to the modern times, right? We have like movies like Insidious, right? Hereditary, Midsomner, you know,
Midsummer.
much more kind of on the eerie side, right? Really concentrating on the unknown and not that, shock, or there's a bit of shock factor there, but
But I
most.
but I mean I wouldn't even like say all that though, because like even like those movies found a basis in like the movies that came out before it. Like for instance, the paranormal movies started with The
Hmm.
Exorcist, Poltergeist, medieval horror. Like those are what started some of the paranormal movies. and then like Paranormal Activity that was started by the Blair Witch Project.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
So
exactly. Hmm.
it's like those movies, like the modern movies, are so good now because they look good and they have a good story.
Oh
Like,
yeah, story is important
if
now
you're
for the
watching,
modern.
if you're watching an older movie now, it's not gonna look good, but the story is gonna be good.
Hmm. Yeah, but yeah. So uh, those are really really important.
Right.
Aspects of when we have when we're talking about movies, horror movies.
So what do you think makes a good horror movie?
So for a horror movie, right? Definitely the scare factor. In regards to like not just shock and the slasher films really reside on the jump scares, but
Mhm.
I really um enjoy, horror movies that, have like an eerie, I don't know how to describe it. It's a much different criteria than when you compare it to regular films, because I can't say it's like just memorable scenes, because then it just makes a
Mhm.
good then it just makes it could just make it a good film and not necessarily a good horror film, right? The
Right.
criteria is a little different. I would say it's more along the lines of you got to like think about it as, okay, what about it makes it scary, right?
That's
You
true.
know, and so what I mean that I know I'm being very general and broad, but I guess it's better if I come up with some examples already, right?
Yeah.
So let's
Give
take yeah. So let's take an example of two very different examples of two good horror movies, right?
Mhm.
So we will go with, oh, I know. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, right?
Yeah.
And Hereditary, which is a more modern horror movie. So with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? There's
It's
this
about the
one,
balance. I feel like that's where you're going because a movie, a horror movie can make you feel too uncomfortable to the point where you're like, what is this mess? But like if you
like,
find that
yeah,
balance between like having people feel uncomfortable but also thrilled and excited and nervous about what's coming next, like I feel like that's a recipe for a good horror movie.
that is true, because I feel like some people try to push the envelope too far to see like how much can I get away with, right? And then you have something like Human Centipede, which is like just kind of just grotesque and just disgusting for the point of being disgusting.
Yeah, but I would say that the first Human Centipede wasn't that bad, but then like the second, it was like, all right, you you're doing too much now.
Mm, what can be better than two people in a human centipede? Three people in a human centipede. Yeah.
Wait, what wasn't
No,
there three people in the first one?
I don't remember, man. I didn't watch any of those. Those movies
Oh,
just they were just kind of stupid because they just I just
wait,
felt
wait,
to
so
me
you
like they're
didn't watch Human Centipede?
what's that?
You didn't watch Human Centipede?
No, I didn't. I know the
Okay.
theme though. Like I know what it's about. Like, but that's why it didn't. Like there was nothing about it that like was like intriguing to me. Like, oh, that's you got some crazy guy just putting people in a centipede. I think it was just like some guy in a writing room is like, yo, it'd be so fucked up if like you just put like people together in like a centipede and just put their mouths on their rectum, and then it just like there was no really like it didn't seem like there was like a kind of story behind it, right? You have so
I
I
mean,
think
there was a story. There definitely was a story.
but it's like probably like a dumbass story because like there's not, yes, of course there's like a story, but like the story doesn't hold like itself on its own. Like for instance, right, you have like a bunch of other movies, right? Sometimes you don't even need a story. Like for instance, like Halloween doesn't need a story, really, right? It's about some guy who was, think about it, right?
I mean,
It's
but there is like an overall story to the Halloween series, though. That's
Well,
the
the
thing.
Halloween series, but I'm talking about the film as it's if it stands on its own. If you think about it, so you have the first Halloween, right, and then it's just about Michael Myers who was this normal little kid. Like that was the whole point, right? That's how the film
Mm-mm,
starts.
not normal little kid at all.
You let me finish?
Go
There
ahead.
was no they didn't seem like there was any problems beforehand. Like it was kind of implied like that. It just like came out of nowhere, and then he, kills his sister, and then he comes out and he looks like a normal little kid. Is this blonde-haired little kid in a Halloween mask? That's the whole point of why, you know, you have the movie start off in a first person, right, view,
Hmm.
because you don't know who's holding that knife, right? You see the fingers, but it's really quickly that
Right.
picks up the knife, right? And it seems like it's just some stalker just like watching and then goes upstairs and kill. But then the scene ends in the first one with the father or the mother, right, taking off the mask, and they look like two normal people to imply it's like a normal family. Like, and that's scary in and of itself, because what ends up
Hmm.
happening in that regard is that you're saying that, oh, there's this, how did this happen? What caused this kid to kind of just go off the deep end and kill his sister like that, right? Like,
Right.
you know what is the madness? And of course, that's especially in modern cinema, like modern horror films, what
Mhm.
they do is they really kind of get into the what's it called, the unknown factor. That's really really big.
Yeah. But I mean, I mean, I want to say it's like, so how, he wasn't a normal kid at all, though. Like,
Wait, Dan, can you see me?
yeah, I can see you.
But I don't, am I still connected? Let me see anything and everything pod. No, you're by yourself now.
Yeah, I'm by myself now. Uh, I don't even know how I can add you back in. I think I stopped the session.
No. How did that happen? Do I need to can wait, give me a second. Let me Oh, there we go. I'm back. I don't know why that happened. That was so weird. But what was I saying, right? Oh, the unknown factor. That's important in modern time, like for modern horror films, is the unknown factor for sure.
Hmm.
If you think about it, Midsomner, Hereditary, I think those two are directed by the same director, but then you have other films as well, right? Insidious, which all play right
Yeah.
on that kind of unknown creepiness, like what's going on, you know? Because the
Hmm.
less that the audience knows, the more that they try to fill in the blanks. And the scariest thing to a human being is different to each human being, right? It's
Right.
right, because it's the unknown. It's what they think could be possible. So I'll give you an example of that, right? Where they kind of understood that and it made the movie scarier. So the movie Bird Box, that was with Sandra Bullock on Netflix. Do you remember that
Hmm.
film? So in that film, for anyone that doesn't know, Sandra Bullock, right, plays this character in this kind of dystopian type of future where they're not, I believe that they have to kind of stay indoors, right? They can't go outside. There's these like monsters that if you look at them, you then proceed to go and kill yourself, right? And so the creators of the film, I read about this online. Originally they had the idea of what the creatures would look like, because in the film you never see what the creatures look like. But then they actually, I think they filmed something. It was like kind of still in pre-production. Like they had like some CGI done, not pre-production. It
Yeah.
was like it wasn't post-production wasn't finished on that scene. I mean, and there was still some CGI that needed to be finished, right? And
Hmm.
so what ended up happening was that yeah, it was like it was what they did was like this like kind of like vulture-ish like looking creature with the head of a baby. And they realized that that was just like comedic looking, and that nothing that they could come up with would help like make it scary, right? Because
Right.
like I said, the worst thing, right, that you could think of is going to be different from person to person. So you imagine like the worst, like what can it be, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So that they took that and they understood that at the end. They were like, you know what? Maybe it's better if we just kind of leave it to the audience's imagination to see what is actually there, because they'll always come up with something better than what we could ever come up with. And that, in and of itself, is scary. And that helps drive the movie forward, because you're thinking to yourself, like, oh, damn, like, what can, like, be causing, like, this thing where, like, people just go and kill themselves. And so your brain just keeps running and running, trying to
Mhm.
think of all these, like, different types of, you know, um, this rationale for what could be going on. So that's like really, especially in modern movies, it's really like that unknown kind of factor, creepiness, like leaving a lot of stuff to interpretation, right?
Right.
Instead of mouth feeding. Like it was like, I wouldn't say as much, but like definitely in the past there was like much more, I guess you could say, some exposition to explain what's going on, and you know, in a much simpler way.
But and to build on that, I feel like it's also about throwing something in the audience faces without any explanation. Because, like for instance, the Jordan Peele's Get Out,
Ugh.
amazing movie, and you think everything's going well until all of a sudden it doesn't,
Mhm.
and that's when, and like that is where the movie picks up, which is very close to the beginning of the movie.
Yep, for sure. That's but that's that I love that movie. That's not, I think, in my opinion, and we could definitely do this in another a podcast or whatever. Talk about what our favorite of those three films are. Um,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, I love Get Out. But yeah, there's definitely some sort of mystery behind that, right? It's definitely a cerebral type of film where you're like kind of just thinking, like, and like all of
Mhm.
those films, you kind of still do that. Like especially
Sure.
in the modern take. And that's kind of like, that's what makes now kind of the good horror film, at least commercially.
Mhm.
There's still like, films that are really about, slashers and continue that, but they're
Yeah.
really kind of just coming with or jumping off that hype from before, like the new Halloween series.
I'm gonna say this: the best horror remake is the It series. I'm gonna say it there.
Oh yes, yes. I think that but that's because the original It was a TV movie, so it wasn't that good to begin with, really,
Oh no,
because
I love the original It.
no, yeah. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying like it could have been better if it was actually in films. But I do like the new It film. Like
Mhm.
they did a really great job with it. You know.
Absolutely.
hmm Um. So that was a great. Yeah. No, the It film was definitely a good one. I'm trying to think of other ones that were. Um. But I think we should just get on with the list, though. You know, and talk about what we think are like some, not lists, but like, but like other movies that we find to be really amazing. I know we were talked about a lot of different movies, though, right? We talked about how, you know like Hereditary, right?
Yeah.
Midsomner. um Midsomner is a great one. That's definitely on my list, and I'll explain each one or some of them. Midsomner especially, right? Because I remember the first scene, like everything, like you were discussing, right? And then Get Out,
Mhm.
how everything is kind of just like kind of going normal, and then like, out of nowhere, you know, there's like bam, kind of something weird kind of just goes on and takes it off the
Right.
rails. Um, and that's how it's supposed to be. I think, it's supposed to be normal, so that the audience kind of feels safe, like you're going, like you're on a car ride, right? And
Mhm.
everything's kind of walking smoothly, or I mean, like everything's going smoothly. You're on the car, and out of nowhere you hit a pothole that you didn't see, and then bam, right? And it's
Yeah.
just like kind of bam, to kind of get the audience a little distorted, because you're like, okay, something's off now, or now you got my attention. And that's what I liked about Midsomner. uh,
Mhm.
of course it starts off like there's like some shit that goes on, like it comes off like, the death of like this girl's family, right? Because it's like through they just committed suicide or something like that. And so
I think the sister kills them all.
right, the sister
Yeah.
kills
It was a
yeah,
murder suicide.
murder suicide. And so it starts off kind of dark, but it seems like a more psychological type of dark, right? Rather than
Mhm.
like something that's like horror based,
Right.
right? And so, fast forward, then, everything like they're kind of, getting accustomed to the, this new culture and everything. And then out of nowhere, you know, they,
But
what scene I'm going to be talking about when they fall off the cliff.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Then you're like,
is that
wow,
horror though?
what's
Like,
I
was
would
Midsommar
consider it
horror or
horror.
was it psychological thriller?
Oh, I definitely think it's horror. I would definitely
Okay.
put it under horror.
Because I feel like I don't know. I feel like with Midsommar, it was for me. What's keeping me from saying it was horror was because of so many deaths that you did not see in the movie. Like most of the time, like it cut out before you saw someone get killed, or the killing happened off screen to the point where like I feel like it was more so a psychological thriller than a horror movie.
Mm, I guess. I don't know. I still think of it as a horror just because there was that creepiness factor involved,
Mhm.
right? Um, and it was just that unknown factor that I was talking about
Yeah.
before plays a big part, and you're like, what the hell is going on? Like, why are they doing
Mhm.
this, right? And it's just very, very disturbing on a lot of different levels. So that's why I
That's
picked Midsomner as like a great horror film, especially of the modern era. Um, we all have like other ones that kind of a little, you know, back maybe like I would say Midsomner for like the 2010s, and then like in the
mhm.
2000s, like maybe Paranormal Activity, kind of. Oh, Saw as well. Maybe Saw would probably be
Mhm.
first, and then Paranormal Activity.
I actually
Saw,
think Paranormal Activity did better numbers than Saw.
but I think Saw is a better film.
I don't know.
Saw is like a good like film, just like it's just a good film. Like
Saw
Paranormal
is a good film.
Activity Paranormal Activity is not bad, but it really kind of I think yeah, I think you're right, it did do better numbers, but Paranormal Activity really relies on that um handheld camera aspect.
I just think Paranormal Activity was a better scary movie, while Saw was a better gore movie.
But
Because
yeah.
Saw I don't know. I don't think Saw was as much scary as Paranormal Activity was.
No, you don't think
Like,
so?
I felt like with Saw you were more scared to look at someone dying versus being scared.
That's true.
If
But
that makes sense.
you also kind of know what's going to happen in Saw, right? Paranormal Activity is while it's not a slasher, it's really based on jump scares a lot of the time,
Right.
you know? Um there is like an unknown factor that helps kind of drive it as well, but it is definitely
Mhm.
based on jump scares, right? Like you're like walking or the character's walking and then oh, a drawer shuts. You know what I mean? Like
Then
out of
yeah,
nowhere.
when you see it happen.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Saw, like you said, right? You're expecting it because, you know, uh they they're trapped in some sort of mechanism, right? And
Yeah.
they know, and then there's a timer literally saying that if they don't do whatever the activity is or whatever the saw guy, right, Jigsaw tells them to do, Jigsaw is the
Mhm.
antagonist, right, tells them to do, then they're going to die at the end. So you already kind of know. So there is more
Right.
anticipation, more of a thrill kind of feeling behind that, but you're already kind of expecting it to happen rather than just jump at you.
Yeah, it's jump scare versus gruesome scare.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I definitely picked those two.
Mhm.
90s. I'm trying to think of 90s horror films. I can't really think any of them off the top of my head, so I'll just leave it there. And then but then behind that, you got the slashers. I used to be super scared of like Chucky, so Child's Play is definitely up there. There was less of a scare when I realized, like, because this was when I was a kid, that
Mhm.
Chucky was like, really just a human. Charles Lee Ray is the guy that then he takes over Chucky's body. And for anybody that doesn't know, there's a new Chucky series on the Sci-Fi Channel. I watched like the first
Which is really
episode.
good.
Yeah, I heard it's really really good. Second season just started, I think, last week. But I hear it's like really really good. So definitely check that out. I'll
Mhm.
probably get back into it. I just haven't had time. But yeah. So Chucky, Hellraiser, of course, a new Hellraiser came
Hellraiser
out.
was Hellraiser was 90s movies, wasn't it?
Was it? Was it in '90s or late '80s?
Yeah, and I think Scream was the 90s. Hellraiser was the 90s. What else we have? Silence of the Lambs was the 90s. Um, oh, and the best movie, like, horror movie ever made, Leprechaun, was 90s. It was 93.
Terrible movie. We shouldn't even
Amazing.
talk about that movie. You know what? I was right to skip the '90s. Let's just forget about
No,
the '90s. Let's go back to the '80s. So the '80s, right? So we were on.
I mean, the 80s you really had, it was primarily Jason, Freddy. I think Freddy spanned into the late 80s, early 90s, along with
Mhm.
like Michael Myers. I mean, they all spanned from the 80s to the 2000s. So
There's a
you got
lot of yeah. Um, but there's this other film. Fuck, I forgot what it was called. It had a big twist. I think that's like definitely a podcast idea. Podcast idea. That should be like a thing. Like if we do, it's like podcast idea and I go ding. But it would
that.
be talking about best twists in movies. Right. I'm not gonna ruin it here. But it was like it was like something. It took place in a camp. Fuck. It was definitely not. It wasn't. I'm not talking. I'm not thinking about
You're not talking
Friday
about
the
Camp
13th.
Crystal Lake.
Yeah. I'm not talking about Friday the 13th. It was a different camp movie.
What was
Uh
the premise of the movie? Maybe I can figure out the movie.
Maybe it was definitely a B film. All right, so this girl, right? I think she goes to her aunt's like after like her brother dies or something, like in a boating accident, and she goes to her aunt's, and then she gets sent to this like summer camp, and then people just start kind of dying left and right, and nobody knows why.
And it was recent or old?
It was old '80s, I think '80s. Let me see if I could figure it out. But so while I'm like trying to look, what is the other film that we were? So the other stuff, right?
That's not. It's not. Is that not Sleepaway Camp?
Yes, I think it was Sleepaway Camp. And then yeah, is that the one?
Okay.
And there's the big twist at the end.
Because it's like a horror slasher, right?
Yes. Let me see
Yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah.
if I gotta look up the wiki, and then the wiki will probably. I think it is though. For anyone know, I just know I. But yeah, that one. Um,
So for anyone who is a big fan of
yes,
slasher horrors,
it was that. It was
there
that.
is a dope series on Netflix called Slasher that you should really check out.
Yeah, that was it. But yeah. Um so yeah, that was a very very crazy twist. But yeah, those are pretty much like the big ones that I could think of. There's like older films, but I feel like with horror it was really like probably the epitome of horror, or not the epitome, I shouldn't say the epitome, but it start of like really good horror films was like Halloween. And then, oh, The Thing. How did I forget that? The Thing was a great movie, but that sometimes people will argue that it's like sci-fi horror, but
I
so
mean,
Alien,
it's still horror.
but hey, Alien also goes into that category too, which is a great film.
I think the Alien series, it started leaning away from horror and going like more into just sci-fi.
Mm-hmm. As time went on, yeah, that's
Mm.
true. Um, Even the Predator
Who's your
series.
favorite slasher though?
Oh shit. Favorite slasher. Good question. Maybe Michael Myers. I'm not sure.
I'm gonna go with Freddy Krueger.
Oh wait, no, Freddy. Man,
Be-
I
be-
think I'm gonna switch.
I mean, I would go with Leprechaun, but I'll talk about Leprechaun all day. So I'm just gonna go with Freddy
Yeah,
Krueger.
Leprechaun's weak ass little bitch. I just like punt him across the room.
Leprechaun would destroy all of the slashers.
No, they would not, man.
Absolutely.
What's with you and Leprechaun, man? It's a trash
No,
ass movie.
it-
That's a
the
trash
the
ass
all
opinion.
listen. The only person that may stand a chance to get against Leprechaun is probably Freddy Krueger. The only person.
Yeah, no, Freddy's hard to beat because of his like with the dreams and shit. So
Exactly.
yeah, that's why.
Because
But yeah,
Michael Myers isn't gonna go out and try and find a 4-leaf clover. Like that's just not something he's gonna do.
is that how you beat him?
You beat Leprechaun by either using a 4-leaf clover or damaging his gold. Those are the only ways to beat Leprechaun.
Can you
Or
kill him though?
or it's like striking his heart with iron.
Is there only one leprechaun, or is there like a bunch of leprechauns and they just caught like one leprechaun?
There's just one Leprechaun.
Oh, got it. So how does that movie start? I forgot. Like, it's just like some guy that's not. It's like off screen. They capture him and then just bring him to America.
No, it starts off with this old guy who comes back from Ireland with the Leprechaun's gold, not knowing that the Leprechaun followed him back.
Oh, and then he kills the guy.
Not at the beginning, no. Spoiler alert, not at the beginning, but the guy locks the Leprechaun in a crate by putting a 4-leaf clover on top. And then he ends up having a stroke. And then it cuts into like 10 years later, and that's when Jennifer Aniston's character and like 3 other people come to the
Oh,
house, and someone accidentally lets the Leprechaun out the crate.
oh,
Wait, you never seen Leprechaun?
I haven't seen it in years.
Yeah,
I guess.
you got to watch it. You got
Yeah.
or rewatch it, and then you'll
Hmm.
be like, "Damn, Dan was right. This movie actually isn't bad."
We could watch. We could do a reaction video to Leprechaun.
Oh, we can do that. We'll do. I mean, my reaction is pretty much just reciting the whole movie
Uh,
because I've seen it
Trash.
like 200 times.
Don't know
But anyway,
why.
anyway, I would say Freddy Krueger, just because I don't know. I feel like he's more menacing and creative.
Freddy Krueger. Yeah, I'm gonna probably pick him too. But what's your list like going like back like in time, like kind of
Going back in time,
like
uh,
going through like from like modern kind of like
I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street from the 80s, uh, in the 90s. I really did enjoy the Scream series. I love the new Scream movie that came out recently too. Um, Psychological thriller horror. Silence of the Lambs was a really good movie.
oh my
Uh,
god, I forgot that one. I think Silence of the Lambs was the first horror film that ever won Best Picture
mm,
at the
really?
Oscars. Yes, you could Google that.
No, yeah, I do have to Google
Wow, you're just supposed to take my word, Dan.
that. Yeah, but I mean, if someone who's watching this goes, "That can't be true," and then facts checks you and like and goes, "Oh, Zenodra was wrong." At least I'm doing it first.
Zenodro's never wrong, okay? By the way, I'm Zenodro. But yeah, Zenodra is never wrong.
Let's see.
Even when I'm wrong, I'm right.
Okay, let's see. 10 scariest movies that have won Oscars. I don't know if this is Best Picture though.
No, there's other films that may have won other stuff, not necessarily Best Picture, but I'm pretty sure that that was the first one.
Jordan Peele won Best Original Screenplay for Get Out, but not Best Picture. All right, yeah, I'll look that up later.
But yeah, so keep going with that list.
Um, and then more modern, I would say I really do like the Paranormal Activity series.
That was a
Uh,
good series. I like that.
A Quiet Place was really good, even though I do not like John Krasinski.
What's with you and John Krasinski? Like
I don't
he's
know. I just don't like him as an actor. I feel like it goes back to him in The Office, and like I hated his character, hated his acting as Jim in The Office, and so it just like went on from there.
we
I
all know
just
he's gonna.
I just
Yeah,
can't stand seeing him in any type of movie. Just like I can't stand seeing Pete Davidson in any type of movie.
what's wrong with Pete Davidson? Oh, because he just acts like Pete Davidson.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. I don't think. I personally don't think Pete Davidson is funny.
I think he's funny.
No,
That's me.
I didn't. Yeah, no, I do not think he's funny at all, and that's why I don't enjoy watching him in movies.
No, I thought, yo, King of Staten Island. That was an amazing film. So he did.
Yeah, I probably won't watch that because he's in it.
He was great. He was the main character. He did a great job in that film. Bill Burr's in it, who's probably my favorite or second favorite comedian after Dave Chappelle. But yeah, definitely. Check out that film directed by Judd Apatow. You know, we had a podcast before talking about best comedies. Judd Apatow's name came up a lot. Um, so yeah, no, but back to horror. Uh,
Um. Oh, The Ring that came out in 2000s. That was a
oh
really
my
good
god,
film.
I totally forgot about The Ring. Yeah.
Um.
It-
Uh. And I think The Ring started the whole cursed tape situation that came out after that.
which one?
You know what I'm saying? Like The Ring like started the big move with like the cursed videotapes and all that.
What other other movies have things about cursed tapes?
The new show on Netflix.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, that was a good film or a good show for a little bit.
Mm.
I
What
forgot what it's
else?
called. They canceled it after a season though.
I think it was a limited series.
No, because there was a continuation. No, it was. I think I know what you're talking about. It was. What was it called? Hmm. I forgot what it was called, but it wasn't bad. It just I hate when like certain
Archive
series.
81.
What's that?
Archive 81.
Yes, that one. Yes. The only problem I had with that is that it kind of switched from being like a horror film to horror sci-fi, and I hate when series do that.
Mm.
It I've seen there was a video game that did that, Outlast, and I think that ruined its appeal for me, and I hate it because it was like you change genres like toward the end, and it kind of just
Mm.
ruins the whole aspect of the movie or game in this case. But yeah, uh,
I'm trying
okay,
to think what else. The Descent was really good.
never watched that.
Um, Lights Out, that was pretty good.
Never watched that.
The Babadook.
I've watched that. That wasn't bad. Forgettable, not bad.
Sinister, that was a good series.
Yeah, movie. Oh, Sinister, like movie series. Yeah.
Hmm.
Insidious.
Insidious, Conjuring, those are all good.
Annabelle.
I mean, I would put that in the Conjuring series.
Okay.
'Cause, I mean,
Um,
it is the Conjuring series. I'm not lying.
So we did that, right? 90s, you talked about some trash movie. I forgot the name of it, so we'll skip that. And
Scream.
then 80. Scream's a great movie. Actually, I forgot about Scream, but
Scream.
yeah.
Scream is not better than Leprechaun. I'll leave that at that.
I don't know. That's debatable. Scream brought back the slasher, and
But the slasher never left when Scream came into play.
it was Billy. Was Billy Loomis was the bad guy in the first one, right? For
There were
Scream,
two.
I know, but he was like the main one. It was Billy Loomis, and then
Mhm.
Shaggy.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit. Yeah. uh, and and then before that, who was it? Before, oh yeah, then we're in the 80s, right? Who'd
Mhm.
you pick? Yeah, you said Freddy,
Freddy
right?
Krueger. Yeah.
And then 70s, so you just really had Texas Chainsaw, I guess, and then Halloween.
I think Friday the 13th may have started in the 70s.
I'm pretty sure it was like 80s, 81 or something.
Cause didn't it start off as a TV show?
What? I don't think so. Definitely have to kind of check that, but I don't think so. But yeah, those are the lists. We could definitely build upon that. Oh, tired. But yeah, you have anything else to add?
Let's see. You want to give any honorable mentions, real quick?
I think we just had a lot of them, right? We like just kind of just sprinkled them in, like what was it, the Puppet Master? Maybe I remember watching that.
Oh,
Um,
there was a movie called Milo that was really good. I can't find that shit anywhere though.
Willard is another one. Um, yeah, there's The Grudge.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
I'm just naming like horror films left and right. Yeah. Um,
Did you watch the Pinocchio horror movie?
no, I never watched that. What's it on?
Uh, let's see. It was called Pinocchio's Revenge. It was like pretty like
Hmm.
Came out
No,
'96,
no,
but I
I
don't
never
think you can
watched
watch
it.
it for free anywhere.
Never watched it. Yeah, so if anyone has any like suggestions for new horror films, definitely let us know in the chat, DM us, right? We could like take a look at them. We're gonna watch Halloween Kills soon, so we'll definitely talk about that briefly.
Yeah,
Probably more on the
yeah,
Insta
definitely.
live.
Hmm.
Um, the reviews have been kind of a little lackluster.
Over
Um,
like what?
I gotta
Like
look at them again because they probably updated now. Let me just see. Halloween Kills, Rotten Tomatoes.
Halloween Ends.
It was ends.
Mm.
Oh, why did I think it was my
Kills
dumbass?
is the one that came out last year.
Oh, my dumbass. Let's see. Oh no, the tomato reviews haven't been out. There's 3 reviews, but alright. So like the previous 2 films, Green delivers 2 hours of slasherific enjoyment, and Laurie and Allison are admirable warriors we're rooting for. There is a strange majesty to the loopy closing minutes of Halloween's last hurrah. Uh, yeah, there's only 3. It's not too much. So we'll see. We'll let you guys know what or how good it is. Yeah, our opinions. But
I'm expecting it to be just as good as the Halloween Kills.
Halloween Kills wasn't bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible either.
I just think that it did a good job of like totally shifting Michael Myers' character. Because like usually he's a bit more like stealthy with his like killing, and this time
Mm-hmm.
Halloween Kills, he just like went like berserk mode.
True. All right. Yeah, it was definitely very, very slashery, much more slashery this time.
Right.
Slasher and steroids, but yeah.
Yeah.
My
It's
only
like
gripes, yeah, the only gripes with it is just that it was they're kind of like towing the line between is this a supernatural, is this more like
mhm.
is this more in the realistic sense, and they never really explained that, and that kind of like one of the things that I was like, and then if you saw the end of the movie,
But
then
I
you're
feel like they
like,
did explain it though.
it is supernatural, right? It has to be, man. Dude, no one can come up after what happened at the end of that movie. Like, no, that
No,
doesn't have.
I'm saying I feel like the explanation was like there's power behind the mask. Like that's the supernatural aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like even when like throughout the series when you're watching it and like Michael Myers.
There's something called blunt force trauma and blood loss. Like, come on, man. Like, he clearly was not supposed to get up after that.
No,
Any like, they make him seem like he's like this some sort of the mountain from like the Game of Thrones. I never know if you watch the Game of Thrones, but like, no, this guy is like just. It's that it has. If it's not supernatural, then I don't know. It's got to be.
because I'm trying to think. I feel like he was never killed with his mask off.
So you have to take off the mask, and then
I feel like you have to take off the mask and then kill him.
I thought he didn't have the mask on when they were like attacking him.
I have to rewatch it because I don't remember.
Maybe you have to kill him with the mask. I don't
Hmm.
know. It was like, yeah. I didn't mind the movie, but I just think that
I hear
part
we
was
have
kind.
people in the chat, but
Oh yeah, I see that Dan Chill TV show. I should what?
AJ Zenodra over here was supposed to be monitoring the chat and he just fell off.
Me, I was supposed to be monitoring it.
You said you were gonna monitor the chat.
I thought you were looking at it. You said like,
No.
"Hello, everybody." That's your voice. Hello. Sorry, man.
Oh, he said he was. Okay. So he was killed without his mask in the old one. Wait,
Mm-hmm.
was he? Which Halloween was that?
Those old Halloween movies were trash, though. Like,
Uh,
except the first one.
no, there's more than the first one. What about the one with the when he's trying to kill his niece, the little
Isn't that
girl?
that's the second one? Or no, was that the second one? No, no, he's still trying to kill Laura in the second one.
I think it might be the third.
Yeah, like
And
those are
then yeah,
yeah.
the only problem the Halloween series did was with Season of the Witch.
Oh yeah, that was like when they try to like yeah.
But I feel like that explains the supernatural aspect of Halloween, though. Trying to mass produce a bunch of like masks that would like take over the world.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember,
Yeah, but yeah, that's true. That's true.
but you know that is you know who the mask is based off of, right? For Michael Myers,
No,
it's William Shatner.
really.
Yeah, look it up. Yeah, that's my yeah. I don't know how I know all these like random ass facts, but yeah, it is. As a William Shatner mask. I think it's a
Mhm.
William Shatner mask turned inside out. I'm not sure about that part, but I know that it is a William Shatner mask.
All right. AJ said they need to cut his head and arms off and ship his bodies to different parts of the world.
And then burn him, burn the body.
But I feel like after you behead him, he should be done. Like, there's no way he's coming back from a beheading.
You don't know. It'll be like the thing, like where it's like the little the you put it like close to each other, and then they just start connecting each other again. Like here's
Oh,
how the
yeah,
thing. Yeah,
true.
they didn't explain it. They didn't explain why he's like able to get up after that, what it should be blunt force trauma and like blood loss, right?
Oh, no,
I don't know
he
what,
went through a lot. He went through a lot
and so they better explain that shit.
before
Um,
it actually ends.
and why his ass always wants to go to that house, to the same spot where he killed his sister. Like, you know,
Because that's what started it all. That was his first human kill, wasn't it?
it was. But he's looking out the window, though. That's the thing.
Mm,
Like, you would think he would just be standing in the room or something. He was like standing at the window looking outside, like as if he's watching something.
yeah.
Wasn't he? That was like the whole, like, that was the thing. I see what
Mm.
you're saying. That makes sense, But yeah, they got to explain that. Just make it like something like supernatural. I don't care, because like he shouldn't have gotten up. He shouldn't have gotten up at all. So that was a
Yeah, now
dumbass.
now when the whole town went ham on him, he definitely should not have gotten up.
Yep. But yeah, we should end it there. We'll definitely talk more about that kind of. We'll talk more about Halloween stuff
Yeah.
topics next week.
So thank you for joining us on the Anything and Everything podcast, TBD. I'm Dan Gill, and we got the co-host of the year.
Yeah, Zenodro. Yeah, so join us next week. We'll be talking about more Halloween themed stuff.
Same time, same place. And if you haven't already, go stream All I Ever Wanted on all streaming platforms for music by Zenodro.
Thank you. And Dan's got some shit coming out too. He's in the studio.
Yeah, coming out soon.
And better be soon. And we've been waiting. So yeah, we'll see you next week.
Peace out.